Hilton is ill, she will not be with us tonight, so I will be introducing both of our poets. Oh yeah, sure. Let's go ahead and do the door prize now. This is the 709th meeting of the Poetry Society of South Carolina. Wow. There was no meeting 100 years ago this month. And why was that?
Just because they didn't have one.
Okay. The door prizes tonight, on the front cover, everyone look at the address of CLS, the Charleston Library Society. I don't even have mine here, but look on the front cover where you see the address of the Charleston Library Society. It should be 164 King Street. Normally, that's the current address. But historically, you might have looked for the Poetry Society 709 King Street. So if you see 709 King Street, you are the winner of a door prize. Would you please? Charles, how do you keep doing this? How do you keep pulling this off? Okay.
Anyone else? There's two.
709.
Yeah.
Okay, come on up. Come on up. What's it going to be? What's it going to be? A Main Street rag? Okay. Can you give this to the young lady who won the second prize? Thank you to Jim for, again, organizing that. Oh, and now I see I do have a bulletin program that's kind of half printed. Anyway, you have regular bios for Angelo Geter and for Miho. I just want to say a few other words. I'm going to grab two sets of notes. Okay. Oh, sure. A little more into the mic.
Yes.
Yeah, I can get louder.
Thank you.
Also, I wanted to ask if Denzel Wright is here this evening. Fran Cardwell said he might be coming, and I was just going to greet him if he did. She wanted us to give him a hearty welcome. He's another poet that we want to have among us. Okay, today I read an interview with Miho Kinnas that was published by Canvas Rebel, in which she described a collaborative project with a DC-based poet, E. Ethelbert Miller, and her thoughts on collaborative writing interest me because I think there are so many possibilities within this membership for collaborative writing projects. What I love most is Miho's explanation that she and Miller didn't make any claim in any part as individual work. The entire thing was a collaborative work. Instead, given their different cultural and professional backgrounds, they, and I'm quoting, resolve their differences, such as their opinions, their styles, their preferences, in a poem, and they have a meaningful conversation within each poem. And I love that idea, and that's kind of what we're doing at Poets on Stage also. We're having conversations with the poets on stage and with each other. So Miho is a poet and literary translator. Her first language is Japanese. She has an MFA in poetry from the City University of Hong Kong. Her free verse, haiku, tanka, essays, translations, and book reviews have been published in various countries. Poetry, she says, is at the center of her heart, and she lives accordingly. So I'd like to bring Miho up to make her.
Hi, good evening. Happy International Women's Day. And then this is the Women History Month.
Yes, it is.
Yes, okay. Someone like my husband would say, you know, every month is Women's Month. But at the same time, I feel like no month is Women's Month sometimes. I'd like to talk about Pillow Book. Has anyone heard of Pillow Book? Okay.
Yeah.
So it was written in the 10th century, 10th to 11th century Japan, written by a woman. And she was a lady in waiting for the Empress Teishi. So it was a very sophisticated salon they had, and she wrote the book called The Pillow Book. And in many MFA programs, poetry teachers quote from this book, and students write something like this. I'm going to read one of my poems. So kind of trying to get the idea of this book. Elegant things after the pillow book. A white cover coat worn over a violet waistcoat. Pulled silk whispers. Unfamiliar bird calls from the top of a birch. Duck eggs. Drop a surprise, listening. Liana syrup over shaved ice in a skinny silver ball. Your reflection escaping the last spoonful. A rosary rock crystal holds you still. Am I at the right place? Wisteria blossoms follow the undulation. Clouds will break open. Plum blossoms in snow. Your last thought without a word. Dark red, the last flame. A child eating strawberries. I was the child eating strawberries. We cannot return. We cannot give up. So as you can hear, it's rather fragmental, and there are many list poems in it. But this book actually it's called a Zuhitsu. That's maybe translation would be essays these days called. But I feel really it's a creative nonfiction. And it was written in the court, right? Empress and other ladies surrounding her. They were poets, they were painters, and they had flowers, beautiful things always, very sophisticated. However, I went to Amazon and looked up what they say about pillow books. In the 10th century, Japan stood physically and culturally isolated from the rest of the world, which is not very true, actually. There was a quite busy trade with China via Korea, with other Asian nations. So that's really not true. And Seisho Nagon, a young courtesan of the Heian period, kept a diary, which provides a highly personal account of the intrigues, dalliances, quirks, and habits of Japan's late 10th century elite. And then, so there is a movie made with the same title, The Pillow Book. It was a very erotic film. And another one also says, even for Penguin Classic volume, they say, written by the court gentlewoman, Seisho Nagon, ostensibly for her own amusement. The Pillow Book offers a fascinating exploration of the among the nobility at the height of the Heian period, describing the exquisite pleasures of a confined world in which poetry, love, fashion, and whim dominated, while harsh reality was kept firmly at a distance. Which is not really true either. It was a very highly political situation, and there were so many rivals, and all the marriages are political marriages. It was very, very difficult. So she had another purpose, to kind of leave the record of this sophisticated salon. And I would say, because the author was a woman, the book was treated this way, in translation as well, and in Japan as well. Many people read a book a little differently from what it is. So I wrote a book. I wrote a poem trying to explain what it is. The poem is called The Pillow Book. Seisho Nagon, so it's from the point of view of the book. The book is long. Seisho Nagon brushed me on the pages of variable white paper, gifted by the Empress, stacked as high as a pillow. The Empress who found love in political marriage, one in thousands, tens of thousands, but she was falling. I was born in the dark time in her despair. One would say Shonago made that the book would provide solace to the Empress. Every phrase and word considered carefully for my survival. People say I am full of dreamy ideas and whims, spurred by moments in the daily life of Seishonago. She filled me with snow, colored leaves, wisterias, and warblers, babies, festivals, ceremonies. The pompous aristocratic man snuck into the wrong room, full of love affairs, gossips, poetry, and scent. My author was one of the ladies in waiting who embodied the will and the wishes of the Empress, the mastermind of the salon. There is no point repeating tragedies in writing. The salon was filled with the lines from the Chinese classics and Kokinshu poems, wits and jokes, laughter and music. The Empress died in childbirth. The baby prince, the last thing the enemies wanted. I'm given the task of telling the tales of the powerful enemies. I must survive the period of their influence. So I like to read my tanka. Everybody familiar with tanka? The difference between tanka and haiku? So tanka is older, and that's the major part of Japanese literary history. And it's written in 31 syllables, 575, 77. So haiku is 575, right? This is longer. But they came first. Haiku is much newer. And the very first anthology, Japanese poetry, was published in the 8th century. So by then, the format was pretty much fixed. So by the time the Pillar Book, the author, and also Tale of Genji, which is said to be the world's oldest novel, it was also written about that time, also by a woman, another ladies in waiting. A couple of weeks ago, I was in New York reading, and I said the same thing. This is the oldest novel, and some gentleman said, actually, there is a French novel which was written in the 8th century. So I did not dispute that, but I was told that. So tanka is a lot of things these days, and in Japanese, it's going through some kind of revival. A lot of people writing very, very interesting tanka. Since the 80s, there was this woman poet. She kind of revived this tanka just single-handedly. And it became more like a pop song, love songs and pop songs. It's really, there are a couple of English translations published as well. It's called The Salad Anniversary. And since then, it's kind of a tanka came back to life. But of course, the Japanese people have been writing it for 1,300 years. So there are always ups and downs. And in English today, I am a member of Tanka Society of America, and I take workshops and I submit to their magazines. But it seems there's no fixed understanding what tanka should look like. And whatever I write often say, this is not tanka, some people tell me. But there are tankas like this in Japanese as well. So I don't know, I just keep writing what I want to write. So my tanka tends to be either love tanka or a bit of a fantasy. That's what I'm kind of working on, not so much of a nature thing. Okay, so first one. I was looking for you in a bag of groceries on the table. Burnt toast smell lingering. This one is, thank you. Standing next to a stranger at the fireworks, I feel honest, a green skirt. This one is sort of from Pillow Book. In the darkness of your heart, I write to you about the things that make my heart beat faster. Tokyo Harbor, never sleep, August moon, wind counterclockwise. This one was for my mother from our last trip together. And this one was actually published in Tanka Society Journal. It's a love tanka. Turning a page, an ant falls on the word. I like how you say it, love. My favorite. So Renee here, actually, she interviewed me for the World Literature Today magazine. You can find it. My name, World Literature Today, and Renee's name. And then we were talking a little bit about what language do I think, and I said, I don't think. It's my kind of sad answer. But the real answer is I do not think in language. It's more visual images and arrows and charts and colors. And the other day I was reading an interview with Nabokov, Vladimir Nabokov, the author of Lolita, right? And he wrote in the second language, of course, but he was very fluent since early days, but he still felt his Russian was much, much stronger, a much richer language for him. But he said the same thing. He said he does not think in language. He sees colors. He was, what's the word? Synesthesia. So he had that. So, I mean, I don't have that, but. So, yes, I do think in terms of images and then go look for a word. Otherwise, I have to go back and forth Japanese and English all the time. So maybe that's why I find images is a better medium for me to think. I'm going to read this poem. It's called The Three Shrimp Boats on the Horizon. This was the one that was collected in the Best American Poetry 2023. It's made of 27 words. It's the shortest poem, I believe. I wrote this on January, I began writing this poem on January 1st, 2022. I was on the beach on Hilton Head Island doing a polar bear swimming. It was a beautiful day, the blue sky. There are lots of families out there. It was such a happy, happy place. So I was walking, this poem has a walking rhythm and I started writing in my head. But then, sometimes when it's too beautiful, something is just too perfect. And then at the same time, I was thinking there are people who are suffering at this moment. And also, you don't know what's going to happen next moment, next day. It's just, we never know. So that was this poem's all about. Three shrimp boats on the horizon. Moon, white, seagulls, kites, stars, horizon. Air, water, wishes. Turn, wait, listen. Shades, mirrors, distance, depth, tones, whisper. Prussian blues, strings, cries, lost, crystal, rock, paper, scissors. Thank you. I think this next one is be my last poem. I think it was 2 years ago, I wrote about 100 haiku. I picked 10 colors and I wrote 10 haiku for each color, red, orange, purple. And I felt I wanted to do something with them, not just 100 haiku. So I started doing a lot of things. And I have this book start with a sequence called, the title is The Sea Fog Arrives to Hide the Lies of a Woman Poet. So this is the title of the sequence. There are 8 sections. And I'm going to read the 8th one, the last one. And this is actually the title poem for my book, Waiting for Sunset to Bury Red Camellias. So this cover is beautiful cover. It's designed by Marcus Amaker. So this is from his press. He's so talented, just beautiful cover. I'm so happy. So 8. I would like to love you for the pleasure of loving you and nothing else. In a town by the lake, under the migrating birds, crossing the Japan Sea in the depths of winter, we arrive as twin fishing boats in the safe harbor at the kitchen window, sparrows in the sleepy afternoon, waiting for sunset to bury red camellias. Thank you.
So Miho has begun the conversation this evening with you and with Angelo Geter, because I'm sure he has some ways to respond to some ideas that she's expressed. Angelo Geter is known as EyeAmBic. If you visit angelogeter.com, you will enjoy reading about his experiences as a spoken word artist and motivational speaker who merges his passions for poetry and speaking into a unique performance that educates, entertains, and inspires. As the Poet Laureate of Rock Hill and a 2020 Academy of American Poets Laureate Fellow, Angelo's work touches on a variety of issues, including grief, social justice, race, character, and manhood. He blends his pieces with commentary, stories, and personal narratives that transcend the traditional lecture or performance. We are honored to be listening to him this evening. His workshop tomorrow, before I forget, is titled Sticks and Stones, Turning Grief into Verse. Please join us at 10 a.m. here at the Library Society in person or on Zoom for that event. And Angelo, our reservation for dinner is at 8:45. All right, thank you. Come on up, Angelo.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Okay, you can get a little bit better now. I'm gonna give you a second to get your life together. Wake it up a little bit. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. There we go. There we go. That's about a 7 out of 10. I can work with that. So first of all, let's give Miho a round of applause. That was a beautiful reading. Beautiful guy. I've heard about Miho for a long time, but I never, until this year, really. Well, 22, I think, when we did that joint reading. Didn't hear her work in person until recently, and it's always very calming and serene. And so I'm very much the opposite. So I appreciate her work and her craft as well. So thank you, Miho. Thank you, Tamara, for having me here. I appreciate that. And the Poetry Society. Is everybody having a good time so far? You having a good night?
Yes.
Everybody good? Okay, great. So as you said, my name is Angelo Geter. I am a poet, clearly, right? We're at the Poetry Society reading. But I like to say I am a page poet. I'm written on the page and published a book, and I'll talk about that. But I come from the spoken word tradition of poetry. And so when I first started really getting into it, calling myself a professional, it was through poetry slam and spoken word and those kind of things. And so I really think it's important to converge both of those worlds in the same spaces, right? A lot of times it's been very separate. If it's a poetry reading, it's just a reading, and you don't see poets that are doing spoken word pieces. If it's just a spoken word show, you don't see people reading. And I don't think that's right. Poetry is poetry, right? So I think, bless you again. But I think poetry is poetry, right? So I like to do a little bit of both. So if that's all right with y'all, I'm going to do a couple spoken word pieces, and I'm also going to do some page work tonight. Is that all right? That's good. Okay. So now with that being said, right, spoken word is a different format in terms of what I need from you guys in general here tonight. So I have a couple of rules, right? The first rule is relax. Somebody say relax. Yes. Okay. Y'all okay? you had a rough week, right? I mean, anybody had a tough week this week? Like, I know it was weird with the weather. It was rainy and it was cold. At least in Rock Hill it was. And then it was like the best day in the world yesterday. And then today, I don't know what's going on. It's like a mixture of both. I guarantee you all those things can meet you when you're outside of the room. But while we're in here, let's keep good energy, right? Somebody say good energy. Good energy. I love it. So rule number 2 is participate. Say participate. Participate. Perfect. So I might ask you to sing something. I might ask you to say something. I might get you to do a little dance in between the poem. Not really, but I like to say that. Right. I might call Tamara up to do that. But also, so that's one thing. I just ask that you do it. And also with spoken word, we really thrive off of feedback, right? Any poetry in general, or like poets, we like this regardless of spoken word or not. But we thrive off of feedback. So if there's something that you like while the poem is going on, it's okay to make noise. I'm giving you permission that it's okay to make noise and do things while the poem is happening. So we're gonna practice a couple of those things, right? So, ooh. Ooh. Ah. Aha. Aha. That boy good. That's deep. That's deep. And my personal favorite, yes. Last rule is sometimes between poems, I like to take a sip of water, to get my life together. So what I want you to think about is, and I'll give you 2 options. Option 1 is think of your celebrity crush, whoever that is, right? I see y'all thinking really hard, right? Especially right here. It's okay. So your celebrity crush sent you a text message, said they're madly in love with you, and they're going to pay off all your loans or any debt that you have, period. If you have debt, right, they're going to pay you that. That's option 1. Option 2 is your favorite artist of all time is doing a personal concert for you in their living room, but in your living room, right? And they're still going to give you money for all that too, right? So every time I take a sip of water, I want you to make noise. Like one of those 2 things is happening, whichever makes sense for you. All right, can we do that? Yeah. You can do a practice round once you get together. All right. All right, come on. Your favorite artist is doing a concert just for you. I would think that you would scream and all that, right? Your celebrity crush is in love with you. We're gonna try it again, come on. There we go, good. If you're comfortable, it's all good. So I like to open up, when I do sets, I like to think about things to leave you with, right? And so if there's a word to leave you with tonight, it is evolution. And what's 2 words? Evolution and growth. And I think a lot of the times when we try to do that in life, as we grow and we get older and we have different experiences, we are so focused on the future that we don't honor the things that helped us get there in the first place, right? We're so trying to figure out our next thing and the next thing, but sometimes we need to sit in the thing that was first. And we need to acknowledge the thing that happened before that. And so this poem talks about my origin in relation to growth as it is to my father, and like how that has evolved and what that looks like now for me as I'm now growing into I am a man, but growing into an older man, right, myself as well. Like, what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be a stepdad? What does it mean to be a Black man? What does it mean to be from the South? All those things, right? So this is called Family Tree. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I was born September 21st, 1986 in Columbia, South Carolina, to a mother named Mary and a father named Joseph. And no, my name ain't Jesus, y'all. It's Angelo. I graduated from college in 2008. I currently work at that same place where every day I mentor kids who look just like me. My mother calls me her little miracle. The concrete generation and my poetry friends know me as EyeAmBic, but on most days, I just call myself a coward. A lonely man hiding behind a telephone pole on a dark stage, trying to redial the memories of my broken childhood, but I keep dropping the calls. Just like my father kept dropping the calls for 13 years. So my parents divorced when I was 5. I didn't see him again until I was 17, which means I never fully grew into my manhood. Didn't quite finish my process of photosynthesis. I still have chlorophyll stuck in my cuticles, chloroplast plastered through the cell membrane in my chest. My eyes are redder than a bed of roses on a Sunday afternoon. I've got ferns for feet, a sunflower smile. You can see roots growing out of my rib cage. I'm trying to sprout new limbs. That yellow beam in the sky is the closest I've ever come to having my own personal ray of sunshine. I'm praying that one day I can be that same light which dances inside of my father's eyes. When I turned 5, he told me, no matter what happens, he would always live inside of here. And though I was severely aggravated by his absence, I've been watering this garden of fatherhood for years, planting fruitless flowers of hope, sprouting from seeds of doubt. I'm just trying to fertilize my faith in him, hoping that the skeleton tree in my chest can finally have some leaves to grow from these long and lonely branches. And it's kind of ironic that I was born in the fall, because every year people start changing colors and dropping out of my life. Dear God, why was I cursed to live in this long and lonely season? Why couldn't I be bright like summer or fresh like spring? Dear Daddy, please don't mistake this scientific notation as a hate poem. This is honestly the most beautiful sunflower sonnet these vine-like fingers have ever written. I'm just trying to climb my way back into the family tree, hoping that your dandelion eyes and magnolia tree spirit can provide enough shade to hide my pain. Y'all, I just want to redial my childhood, hoping that the caller ID tattooed in your chest can finally recognize your son's DNA. So pick up the phone. Let's star 69 our emotions, revive the fire, which made me worship the ground you walked on and not the one you walked out on. Use your oxygen-like smile to breathe life back into our relationship. And I promise that I can bury the past if you are willing to start digging towards our future. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Angelo. I have a heart like a greenhouse and a father whose hands are like weeping willows. I am praying that one day we can both start growing again. Quick learnings. Everybody good? Everybody good? We good? Okay, good. Can we go a little deeper? Is that all right? Which is really funny is that I normally do a warm-up poem, but I started doing that poem first. I'm like, okay, maybe we just needed to hear this first, right? I like to follow the poetry spirits and just the spirit in general, right? When I'm in the space. So that's what I like to do during the set as well. So I might make some pivots as this is going on if I feel like something is talking to me. But part of the journey, again, is figuring out where you come from and where you grew from and how to become, who you are. And then the next thing is how do you define yourself, right? And so I wrote this book, More God Than Dead. I wrote it in 2022. This is my debut collection. And in it, the theme of the book, and I won't get into it yet because I'm going to talk about it later, but the theme of the book pretty much is grief and loss and resilience. And it's figuring out who you are and how you are after a big loss happens, right? We all experience loss and grief, but it's such a taboo to talk about in society. We just don't do a good job talking about it. But I tell people all the time, we probably all endure grief at least once a day. For me, it's at least 3 times a day because I lose my keys, at least in the morning, at least at lunchtime, and at least in the evening, right? And so literally I'm going through the stages of grief. Oh Lord, I'm bargaining, I'm in denial. Lord, give me my keys back. I'm depressed. All these things are happening, right? But we endure it on a daily basis. But because we just think about it as being this big, monumental, and mammoth of a thing, we don't know how to have conversation about it. And so that's what my book was really intended to do, just to normalize the conversation around it. And so what I will tell you is that I'm widowed. And so when that happened and I had that loss, one of the things I was trying to do was figure out who I am. And now, who am I without the person that I've been with for almost a decade? Who am I as a grown adult now? What am I single? Am I not single? Am I widowed? Am I not? Am I divorced? What does that mean? Like, what is all these things? So I'm trying to like have a definition about who I was. And so I wrote a poem that's titled Definition, and it's written as a dictionary definition, like in a dictionary. If it'll let me get to it, come on, let me get there. Let me get there. There we go. Definition. Widower, losing one's spouse through death. From Old English widow, derived from Indo-European root meaning be empty. I.e., an elated heart barren of its fuel is now empty. I.e., the indentation in satin sheet sits empty without the body that made it worth lying in. I.e., the glass is not half empty or half full, it no longer exists. I.e., cleanliness is next to godliness, but emptiness is next to nothing but itself. I.e., the woe man had a mind full of memories and a calendar full of empty promises. Root words, wid meaning with, and owe meaning being indebted to. I.e., God owes me. I.e., God should repay me for the life he took with him and away from me. I.e., my soulmate resides with me forever and I owe them everything. Examples. 1, the widower lost everything, including themselves. 2, their spouse is gone, but the widower is still alive, sometimes. 3, the widower is no longer married, but also not single. 4, the married person says, thank God I'm not a widower. The divorced person says, I'm a widower too. The single person says, at least the widower experienced love at all. The widower says, at least it's never enough. Synonyms, survivor, perseverance. Antonyms, husband, wife, married, together, forever. So when you're like, going through changes and different things in life, right? One of the things that happens is we try to cope. Like, when negative things happen or challenges and obstacles happen, we try to cope with those things in a variety of ways. Like whether it be through immersing yourself in work, you get super busy. Like I called it the booked and busy phase, when you're just trying to do all the things in the world to avoid whatever it is that you're, experiencing, especially if it's grief. And then people also cope with it sometimes through people. They cope with it through substances like, alcohol and drugs and those kind of things. And one of the things I was very insistent on was to not do that, right? Like I was very, very afraid of like getting dependent on things, but it also is that conundrum where it's like, I know it's make me feel better right now though too, right? So it's like that battle that we have a lot of the times when there's a way to make yourself feel better, even though later on you're going to hate that you did it, And so this poem kind of touches on the idea of that. It's called Top Shelf. Top shelf. Alcohol is the god who rides shotgun when everyone else has decided to walk home. It never abandons. When my lips sink into its mouth, when the night air becomes colder than vacant bedsheet, it lights a bonfire in my throat. Jesus is at the bottom of every bottle, so I keep drinking to reach salvation. A slave choosing the whip instead of a way. When the pain is absolute, the crown doesn't seem as royal. The sky doesn't look like heaven. Jaeger bombs my face until the body becomes hypnotic. Painkillers twist screwdrivers in my chest while hurricanes turn white Russians into zombies. I always forget that the proof is in the proof, that memories haunt like ghosts, conjuring up top shelf skeletons. They call them spirits because they Lazarus my demons. Turn a binge into a seance, body shots into a crime scene. There are days when I'd rather believe in Jose Cuervo than Jesus Cristo. Patron is stronger than Proverbs. Psalms ain't enough, but the Paul Masson is. This is when I meet my maker's mark. Isolate in distilleries of doubt, vomit scriptures in a bathroom stall, and kneel before a porcelain altar that feels like home. Y'all on Zoom good too? Everybody good? We good? A couple more poems and I'll get out your way. So one thing, right, that I think is really important, and why I like starting is like I did and kind of ending on a higher note, bringing you down and bringing you back up, is, you know, there's still one thing I had to really come to realize is that you have all these different things that happen, but at the end of the day, if we are able to still be here and experience those things, it means there's something worthy to be celebrated and worthy to praise, right? And it doesn't feel like that when you're going through tough times, doesn't feel like that when you're enduring grief, but the reality is, if you're grieving something, that meant it's something to be grieved over in the first place. You know, things happen every day. Like I killed a bug earlier, like an ant. I didn't cry over the ant because the ant didn't mean anything to me. So, but if we're grieving and if we're, you know, worried about a loss, it becomes the life with the thing or the person or our experience with that meant something to us, and that's why we're doing it. And so that in itself is a gift. And so it's something to be praised, even in that, even in this difficult time that you're experiencing, even in the challenge, the fact that you have the challenge in the first place and even thinking about it means that there was something beautiful about that moment, right? And so this poem I wrote in a time of immense grieving, you know, and then I just had a moment of revelation, like, but I can still like be excited. But I was having intense grieving, but I also was feeling like having a good time. Like I would go out and have fun with my friends. And but how do I contend with being both things at the same time, right? But it's okay to be both because we're human and that's the way life is, you know. And so I wrote this poem and it's called Praise. And I just show a quick story. So this poem in 2020 got picked up on the Poem a Day series for the Academy of American Poets, which is a huge honor. And then a group in Boston, a choral group, found it and they turned it into a choral piece. And I come from choral music as well. So before I did poems, I was writing songs, all state, all county chorus. And this past weekend, actually they did the premiere of the work, which is beautiful to say, which is always like a metaphor in itself that from the toughest moments, beautiful things can come out of it, right? Beautiful music can be made from difficult moments. I stopped talking now. Praise. Today I will praise. I will praise the sun for showering its light in this darkened vessel. I will praise its shine. Praise the way it wraps my skin in ultraviolet ultimatums demanding to be seen. I will lift my hands in adoration for how something so bright could be so heavy. I will praise the ground that did not make feast of these bones. Praise the casket that did not become a shelter for flesh. Praise the bullets that called in sick to work. Praise the trigger that went on vacation. Praise the chalk that did not outline a body today. Praise the body for being a body and not a headstone. Praise the body for being a body and not a police report. Praise the body for being a body and not a memory no one wants to forget. And praise the memories. Praise the laughs and smiles you thought had been evicted from your jawline. Praise the eyes for seeing and still believing, for being blinded from faith but never losing their vision. And praise the visions. Praise the prophets who don't profit off of those visions. Praise the hearts for housing this living room of emotions. Praise the trophy that is my name. Praise the gift that is my name. Praise the name that is my name, which no one can plagiarize or gentrify. Praise the praise. How the throat sounds like a choir. The harmony in your tongue lifts into a song of adoration. Praise yourself for being able to praise, for waking up when you had every reason not to. Thank you. Oh, I love that. Where did the music come from? Is that you, Chairman? Oh, beautiful. I love that. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Awesome. Can I do 2 more poems for y'all and get out of the way? That's cool. So I will say too, shameless plug, I don't do a good job of it. I do have copies of More Gods and Dead for sale. So if you'd like to get one, or if you just want to look at it, because it's a very pretty cover. I didn't do it. So that's why I can say that and not be vain. One of my former students made the cover. But if you want to just look at it and all that stuff, or you want to buy one, I would love that. And just have a conversation with everybody before you leave out of here too. I would love to meet you all. So thank you again. It's a great honor to be here today. So one of the things too that I really had to figure out in growing up and maturing in my process is, a lot of the times when we focus when we're grieving, I know that's the overarching theme of tonight and evolution, right? But as you're evolving through that and going through the stages of grief, one of the things that we can sometimes get stuck in the depression phase of grief, right? Like we get kind of stuck there, like we gotta be sad or be angry or whatever it is, and it's really a cycle. Like it doesn't just happen in those stages very cleanly anyway, right? So it kind of circles back around. But what I had to find out, and I watched a couple of like craft talks from Patricia Smith, who's an amazing poet, as well as some other ones as well, that really we need to honor the moments that are the happy moments too, right? Like we should also write poems that are, celebrating the moment when they stump their toe on a piece of wood or something, or they lock their keys inside the car. Like those are beautiful moments that should also be immortalized, as well. And I think not only in the work, like in literary work, but in our personal lives and our memory banks, right? We should also like sit and put those things on repeat instead of the grieving on repeat. And the more we do those things, it'll like kind of wash away the other one, or at least overshadow it for a while, right? So with that being said, I wrote this poem because my late wife was in the hospital a lot. She had a lot of surgeries and things, but I was always amazed about how she just looked so fly, like in the hospital bed, she'd be in there all day, no matter what was going on, the hair was laid, she would say, not makeup, but she just looked like, like nothing was wrong. Like, how is this possible? How is this, you look like this and you're going through such a difficult time, right? And so I wanted to honor that in this poem, and so it's called Black Girl Fly. I appreciate y'all that are snapping too. You don't gotta be shy about your snaps. It's okay, it's all good. I love it, I love it. Yeah, there we go. Black girl fly. My girl is fly. And not fly as in helicopter or airplane or kite cascading across a sunset. I mean fly as in dope, fresh, trendy, sexy. So fly, the wind asks for her permission to speak. So fly, NASA consults her before sending shuttles beyond this galaxy. Fly like black birds somersaulting on a blue playground of sky. Fly like stiletto hills tall enough to reach heaven's backyard. Fly like walking into a room and stealing the spark in everyone's faces, turning any venue into a runway. Fly like she came to slay everything and all you can do is watch yourself become prey. So fly, every follicle of hair is laid like a prayer, bowing to the temple of her edges. So fly, she convinces me to buy her sundresses every summer. Like spending my money is her favorite pastime. She'll flash a smile and say, Ange, in a tone that weakens the grip of my wallet and serenades the crease of my lips into a smile I can't resist. So fly, I never complain. I gladly carry anything her flesh leaves an imprint on. My girl is so fly, she makes me believe gravity doesn't have jurisdiction over this blanket of flesh, and flight is our native tongue. So fly, she makes a hospital gown look like Fashion Week. So fly, the nurses at CMC Pineville know her by name, greet her with a smile that says, I hate you're back here, but I'm also happy to see you. So fly, she's had more surgeries than birthday parties. So fly, the doctors gave her 6 months to live, and she refused to stick to their timeline. So fly, she talks to God on a first name basis and writes a gospel with her tongue. Thank you. Y'all are awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. So for my last poem here, I started talking about growth and evolution and like my relationship with my dad, and I think it's only right for one. Before I even get to that, as a man, as a Black man, as a man that's raised by women and appreciated and have learned so much from women, I think it's important to highlight women's voices when I have the opportunity to do so. Right, like in my work, for one. That's just the way I was raised, right? My sister is here. She helped raise me as well. Michelle, raise your hand so everybody can see you. And I just think it's important that, because the world doesn't do that, especially in Women's History Month. I think it's important to say that women's voices need to be highlighted and elevated. And so I try to do that in my work when I can. And I learned that first from my mom, right? And my mom, a warrior of a woman who, walk in the room and just change the whole composition of the room. You know what I mean? We would FaceTime on the phone and you cannot see her face. You just see the top of her forehead. And I'm like telling jokes. I'm like, are you laughing or not? I can't see nothing but your wrinkles like on your forehead. You know what I mean? But that's the beauty of what women are, and that's what mothers are and mother figures are to us. And I just wanted to honor that moment. And I want to do this poem. It's called Wonder Woman. Trying to make you cry, Shell. I'm sorry, but Wonder Woman. So if in Women's History Month, I think is only right. And so there is a mother figure. If you're a mother yourself or someone in your life, I want you to think on, reflect on that person while I'm doing this poem. So for as long as I can remember, my mother has been the strongest woman I've ever known. A queen whose face is made of stone, jigsaw puzzles in her teeth, piecing the truth together. Her eyes are bridges that connect the past with the future. And she's what I like to call a straight shooter. Will tell you exactly what she feels, doesn't care what you think or how you feel about it, wears her heart on her collarbone like a diamond necklace, holds pyramids in her palm. So you can feel the royalty in her embrace when she hands you a fistful of compassion. My mama has a monument for a heart. Hieroglyphics in her tongue decipher the elegance in her speech. She is a small, a strong, and proud woman. A woman who put on high heels just to walk to the grocery store. Who put on full makeup and get her face beat to the gods just so she can walk to the gas station because she believes that queens should never leave the house looking like peasants. And she's a superstitious woman who believes that aspirin and vinegar can heal anything. And I'm talking arthritis, gout, scoliosis, coronavirus, the flu, you name it. She thinks these things can heal it. And that's why I love her so much, because she makes ordinary things seem remarkable. Like how she can take a 50-cent box of noodles, add some milk, egg, and cheddar, make the most delicious pan of macaroni and cheese you ever tasted in your life. So good, it made Jesus smack his own mama. Hard in the face. Rumor has it that she once put Bigfoot in the headlock. She smacked Godzilla in the face and told him that his breath stank. She killed Moby Dick, rolled him in flour, threw it in the pan, and called it a fish fry. My mama is a gangster. I'm convinced she's thrown a couple bodies in the river. Because when I was younger, she performed drive-by butt whippings on me with a switch, a hanger, extension cord, anything if I ever got out of line. And when she was done, she let me cry. Remind me that she ain't raised no punk. Showed me that being a man had nothing to do with the size of your genitalia, but everything to do with the enormity of your character. My mama had the strength of Harriet Tubman, the grace of Cleopatra, and the style of Michelle Obama. She is a war machine with missiles shooting from her tongue that has stopped men dead in their tracks and brought them down to her knees. Living proof that the most dangerous weapon in America is the voice of a Black woman. And it proves that Black lives do matter because she has birthed them and raised them and fought for them more than she has fought for herself. Because my mama is also a survivor. And just this past year, she fought the biggest battles yet with a giant named cancer and a titan named heart disease. And although one of those things took her chest, it could never be strong enough to steal her heart. Not vigilant enough to cut off her air supply, because now she is the air. A floating force too big to escape, yet too small to hold on to. A constant reminder that, God sent his son to save us. We created a woman to raise us. Thank y'all so much. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you again, everyone. I'm glad you could come out with us. I hear the weather's about to get bad, is it? They said maybe 11 o'clock tonight, there might be some storms coming in. So get home safely and join us tomorrow. But before you go, we have cheese and wine and crackers and fruit back there. Come and have a little reception with us. Thank you.